Just so you know, you are all muted and your video isn't showing because we have so many people on. And then we have the chat open right now, but for part of the program, we're gonna close that just because it's a little distracting and we need to use it a little bit for our panelists. So we'll open it up at a couple of times in the program. If you need to get in touch with us, you can use the Q&A button. So if you hover down at the bottom of your screen, you should see the Q&A button, and that will stay open the whole time. So you can always use that. All right, so welcome again. And we're gonna close down the chat for a little bit and turn it over to Casey Hansen, Chair of the DPO.
Thank you very much, Katie. And thanks for all your hard work and to the entire staff. And thank you everybody for being here tonight. I mean, this is the third iteration of trying to do the Wayne Morris in this year, but we're getting it done this time. So without further ado, I would like to introduce to you Karina Miller. She's chair of the DPO Native American Caucus and our candidate for Senate District 30. So she will do tonight's land recognition. With that, Karina, please go ahead.
Kwefano Shaikh Emi Naimuma ku Emi Lautiwama Ignashwaniksha Karina Miller. Kwefano Shaikh Inmi Wakishwe ku Ayaguiao. My name is Karina Miller, and I'm very grateful to be here on this beautiful day with all of my friends and relatives. And I always like to do a little bit more in the land acknowledgements to just acknowledge that borders are a colonial construct. And as a member of the Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs, who also has heritage from other federally recognized tribes, I understand that this is a complicated issue and that land acknowledgements oftentimes remain within these social constructs that have been created. So when I do land acknowledgements, I just like to acknowledge that there are 9 federally recognized tribes in the state of Oregon. And oftentimes, you know, we moved with seasons. A lot of us lived in a lot of different territories, and so you're overlapping a lot. And the 9 tribes of Oregon are the Burns Paiute, the Coos, Lower Umpqua, and Siuslaw, the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde, the Confederated Tribes of Siletz, the Confederated Tribes of Umatilla, the Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs, the Cow Creek Band of Umpqua Indians, the Coquille Indian Tribe, and the Klamath Tribe. I also like to acknowledge that there are a lot of people who are descendants or who have tribes that are not acknowledged by state or federal, and that's also something that we need to really work on. I want to thank the Democratic Party of Oregon for doing these land acknowledgements. I want to thank KC as the chair for prioritizing making sure that we are recognizing whose land we are on. And you know, this opportunity for me is also just a moment to reflect on the fact that right now we're seeing unprecedented issues with climate change, with fire issues in Oregon, where people are starting to understand that we need to respect Indigenous knowledge. But these kinds of things like land recognition and the removal of statues, these are removing harmful symbols. And although it's important to take these steps, and although these are important pivotal moments that are inspiring people who have never been involved to get involved, we have to understand that we must strive to be better. And it has to go beyond symbols into getting Native people elected into office, to having representation from people who have intentionally been left out and taken out of this country, and by making sure that we're not just respecting Indigenous knowledge and using it for modern day issues, but that we're also respecting Indigenous viewpoints and lifeways. So thank you for having me, and I hope everyone has a great time tonight at the virtual Wayne Morse Gala.
Thank you, Karina. I'm Tobias Reed, Oregon State Treasurer, and I'm excited to be here tonight with Senator Tammy Duckworth, Senator Jeff Merkley, and all of you. And I'm ready to win in 42 days. I know we're going to be able to do all of that together. So I'm hopeful that you will stand if you can and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, even in this virtual format. So I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Have a great event, everyone.
Thank you so much, Treasurer. I want to begin tonight. It's we've been through some crazy times, and I as I welcome you to this 11th annual and hopefully the first and only virtual Wayne Morse Gala, I wanted to address some things. There is a collective sorrow we all share as we have watched now over 200,000 Americans succumb to COVID-19. And as we saw, 1 million acres of Oregon scorched as wildfires decimated the lives of so many of our neighbors. And just last weekend, as we have lost yet another Democratic icon with the passing of the wonderful, the vibrant, the brilliant, and the notorious RBG. In light of the passing of so many, I would like us to take a moment of silence as we reflect both on the lives lost and the work ahead that will honor their memories and their legacies. Thank you. Oregon Democrats gather once a year to honor Wayne Morse, an Oregonian and a Democrat who is truly guided by his ethics, and was always driven to do what was right. In the spirit of Wayne Morse, this year's event kicks off perhaps the most critical election in our history. And that thought has certainly been solidified by the cascading events of the past 7 months, the past weeks, and the past weekend. But it is in the wake of tragedy that we come together as a community as Democrats. As the wildfires were still raging throughout Oregon, we joined our other Oregon Democratic delegation members to raise money for a range of nonprofit relief organizations across the state. These organizations included the local United Way organizations, the Oregon Food Bank, the Ashland Emergency Food Bank, and the Marion Polk Food Share. In a show of incredible generosity, the Democratic Party of Oregon supporters raised nearly $15,000 for those wildfire efforts, and combined with the fundraising efforts of our senators Wyden and Merkley, as well as Representative DeFazio, Blumenauer, Schrader, and Bonamici, Oregon Democrats helped raise more than $500,000 to support the Oregon wildfire relief. If you go to dpo.org/wildfires, and I believe that's on your Q&A box, but again, that's dpo.org/wildfires. You can help out in that effort too. I would also like to extend a great thanks out to Eric Ward, Executive Director of Western State Center in Portland. And thank you also to Jason Dryden and his crew from Fire on the Mountain Carpentry for helping out the DPO last fall after a tragedy occurred in front of our very building. In this case too, it was a case where great people pulled together and stepped up during trying times. Thank you guys. And now I'd like to thank a very special group of folks, our donors, whose dedication to democratic politics continues to be the invaluable asset as we fight for progressive values in the state of Oregon. Thank you to our President's Council members who give us the major investments to make sure we have the building blocks for our outreach and organizing programs. The Capitol Circle, these folks stretch it out to really make sure our Democrats are armed with the tools to win. Our grassroots Democrats, there are hundreds and hundreds of grassroots members who give each and every month so we can build the strongest outreach campaigns possible. And that's in addition to thousands of one-time and two-time and three-time donations sporadically through the year. Thank all of you. You're great. If you'd like, of course, to give at any point tonight, please visit dpo.org/give. So with that reminder, I'd like to send it off to Congressman Suzanne Bonamici and then Congressman Pete DeFazio.
Hello, everyone. I'm Suzanne Bonamici, and I'm honored to represent Northwest Oregon in Congress. I want to start this evening by thanking all of the firefighters and first responders who have been working so hard to address these unprecedented wildfires that have been raging through our state. Like you, I'm saddened to see the destruction these fires have caused to our communities in a short period of time. But amid all of our current challenges, we know the election is just a month and a half away, a critical election, We have a lot of work to do ahead to elect Joe Biden as president and Democrats up and down the ballot. But I know everyone here tonight is up to the task. Thank you to the Democratic Party of Oregon for pulling together this great virtual event. Of course, I wish we could be together in person, but I'm very excited to hear from my friend, my former House colleague, now Senator Tammy Duckworth. Thank you for all your hard work and dedication. Let's go, let's fight, and let's win in November.
Well, I just got back to Washington. I stayed home for an extra week because of the fires, and I wish I could be, well, I can't be with you. It's a virtual event. Well, I'm with you virtually. So this morning I went for a run. I ran by the FDR Memorial, stopped and had a little chat. Just think of the great leaders this country has had, and among them Senator Wayne Morse, a man of principle. A man who ultimately lost his election because of his opposition to the Vietnam War, which was, before Iraq, one of the worst foreign policy mistakes in the history of the United States of America, an early leader in the civil rights movement. I have a very small Heroes Corner in my office, and I have a picture of Wayne there. We have a lot of late night conversations, and lately, I knew if he could say something, he would be appalled at the state of America. So every day I try and live by Wayne's pledge. I've never memorized it, but I live by the principles. I will exercise an independence of judgment on the basis of facts and evidence as I find them on each issue. I'll weigh the views of my constituents and my party, but cast my vote free of political pressure, unmoved by threats of loss of political support if I do not do the bidding of some pressure group. Wayne, we miss you. We need more like you here in Washington, D.C. Enjoy the virtual gala.
Hi, friends. I'm Michelle Risher, the Vice Chair of the DPO. I'd like to recognize some of the elected officials who have joined us here tonight. Our federal office holders, U.S. Senator Ron Wyden, U.S. Senator Jeff Merkley, our keynote speaker, U.S. Senator Tammy Duckworth, U.S. Representatives Peter DeFazio, Earl Blumenauer, Kurt Schrader, and Suzanne Bonamici. Our statewide officers, Governor Kate Brown, Attorney General Rosenblum, Treasurer Tobias Reed, Labor Commissioner Val Hoyle, our candidate for Secretary of State, Shemia Fagan, and thank you to our sovereign nations and the tribal officials representing them. CEO of the Cow Creek Band of the Umpqua Tribe of Indians, Michael Rondeau, the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde, Councilwoman Denise Harvey, Chair of the Native American Caucus, Karina Miller.
I'm Pete Lee, the Vice Chair of the Democratic Party of Oregon. I'd like to thank all of our state senators and state representatives. Thank you for fighting for us every day in Salem. You do us proud. Our state senators, Oregon Senate Majority Leader Rob Wagner, Shemia Fagan, James Manning, our state representatives, our former elected officials, former Secretary of State Bill Bradbury, former Secretary of State and Democratic Party of Oregon, Gene Atkins, former Democratic Party of Oregon Chair Frank Dixon. Thank you. Now, I'd like to ask everyone running for office and all other current, past elected officials from local and regional governors to please let us know you're here by using the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, and we'll chat it out.
Hi, everybody. I'm Travis Nelson, Democratic National Committeeman and officer of the Democratic Party of Oregon. Now, I'd like to thank the Democratic Party of Oregon officers, Chair K.C. Hansen, Vice Chair Pete Lee, Vice Chair Michelle Risher, Secretary Eileen Kiley, Treasurer Eddie Morales, my fellow Democratic National Committee members, Tanya Shively and Matt Keating. And thank you to our DPO staff who are working hard year-round to elect Democrats. And thank you to our coordinated campaign staff who are working hard this election cycle to make sure we get out the vote and win big this November. Now, we're going to hear from Congressman Earl Blumenauer.
It's exciting that so many Democrats are working around the country to try and defeat Donald Trump, gain back control of the Senate, and strengthen the House. But it's important to remember what we need to do here on the ground in Oregon to protect Peter DeFazio's re-election, Anna Williams, many ballot measures. It's important that we do our job nationally, but remember what we do here on Oregon is critical. It's a game of inches. We need to do our job here as well.
Hi, everybody. Congressman Kurt Schrader here. Sorry I can't be with you in person. There's not a lot of in-person stuff going on these days. I think we're all becoming Zoom fans, or at least slight experts, maybe against their own will, but it's been a lifeline to make sure I and you and everyone gets a chance to communicate. Gosh, it's been a horrible year. 2020 has been a tough year. Have the COVID situation, and then on top of it now these horrific wildfires in our state. Just horrific. I mean, I thought I knew a little bit about wildfire, and proud to support a bill with Wyden and others to improve the disaster relief capabilities and minimize the fuel in the forest. But geez, it's just been crazy out there. And we need a good administration to take care of that. The Trump administration has been terrible. They are not getting the aid out to the state and local districts like they're supposed to. It has been really difficult to work with them in any capacity whatsoever. We need a new administration. We need Biden-Harris administration in there that actually cares about people and get them the help and aid they need. That should be job number one. Not taking away health care, not minimizing opportunities to vote, all the misinformation that comes out. You guys are the lifeline to a lot of folks in your neighborhood about what's actually going on in Oregon and nationally, and what they need to do to get their vote in. It's going to be an unusual election, a lot more social media interaction. You guys are good at that. You're a trusted source in your neighborhoods. The neighbor-to-neighbor program is legendary in Clackamas and Marion counties, and hopefully, I know Washington County started it. It's really good, and that's a great thing to follow up on. Making sure we still do a lot of phoning, a lot of postcards, a lot of mail. All these types of things are going to be really important to get that vote out. It is more important in this election than ever before to make sure everybody votes. As I said, the Trump administration has had an active campaign to curtail the census, curtail voting. We just can't allow that to happen, and a lot of that's going to be our responsibility at home. You've done an amazing job over the years. Need you to step up right now and do more of the same. Thank you, and stay safe out there.
Well said, Congressman. Thank you, Congressman Schrader. Thank you, Congressman Blumenauer, for your words. Good evening, Democrats. I'm Eugene City Councilor-elect Matt Keating, and officer of the Democratic Party of Oregon, is one of your 3 Democratic National Committee members. Tonight, our virtual Wayne Morse Gala could not happen without the generosity of sponsors like you, President's Council members, grassroots members of the Democratic Party of Oregon, silver sponsors, gold sponsors, and especially our platinum level sponsors. You can see all of our sponsors at dpo.org/Morse program. Shout outs to U.S. Senator Ron Wyden, IBEW, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 48. Thank you so much for stepping up every election cycle to support the Democratic Party of Oregon, IBEW. Thank you. IUPAT, District Council 5. IUPAT is the union that represents the Democratic Party of Oregon employees. You have a unionized staff, and thank you, IUPAT District Council 5, for representing DPO employees. I want to thank the Cow Creek Band of Umpqua Tribe of Indians, the Pacific Northwest Regional Council of Carpenters, the Oregon Federation of Nurses and Healthcare Professionals, UFCW Local 555, another valuable partner who has stepped up every one of our Wayne Morse events and every election cycle. UFCW, hats off and thank you. We stand with you. Thank you for standing with Democrats, UFCW Local 555. Morel Inc. Thank you, Morel Inc. I know I mentioned the Oregon Federation of Nurses and Healthcare Professionals. Hat tip to frontline workers. Thank you for all you do. International Association of Machinists, Aaron Mitchell and Rosa Cazares and Lamota, King Estate Winery right here in Lane County, NGP Van. Thank you, platinum sponsors, for all you do. And a special shout out to our gold sponsors, especially U.S. Senator Jeff Merkley, Governor Kate Brown, Congressman Peter DeFazio, Congressman Schrader, Congresswoman Bonamici, AG Ellen Rosenblum, Treasurer Tobias Reed, and Bureau of Labor and Industries Commissioner Val Hoyle, and many more. You can see them all at dpo.org/Morse program. And a thank you to our silver sponsors, especially Senate Majority Leader Rob Wagner, we're going to hear from later tonight, State Senator James Manning, and State Representatives Alyssa Kinney-Geyer, Rob Nose, Paul Evans, the Confederated Tribe of Grand Ronde. Thank you so much for your support. You can see more of our gold level and silver level sponsors at dpo.org/Morse program. Thank you, Democrats, for all you do. Let's have a dynamite election season in less than 1,000 hours. Less than 1,000 hours. We're going to flip this White House, and we're going to keep Oregon blue, and we're going to elect Secretary of State Shemia Fagan and reelect our U.S. Senator Jeff Merkley. Thank you, Democrats, for all you do.
Well, thank you, Matt, and thank you for the math. I didn't think of it in terms of hours yet, but now I can. So we've come to the portion of the evening where we recognize two remarkable Democrats for their leadership and their contributions to the party by awarding the Wayne Morse Award for Integrity and Passion and the Klonowski Award for Civic Engagement, which is named after Jim Klonowski, and his sons Jake and Zach are with us tonight. So now, DNC committee member Tanya Shively will present the first award, the Wayne Morse Award for Integrity and Passion. Tanya.
Thank you, Casey, and good evening, everyone. It is my honor to present the Wayne Morse Award for Integrity and Passion to Benton County Commissioner Annabelle Jaramillo. Annabelle has been a public servant for most of her adult life and is retiring next January after serving 20 years as County Commissioner. I really hope all of you have had a chance to read her bio. She is a very remarkable woman, and she has had a very remarkable career. Tonight, I would like to share a story that Annabelle told me about her early passion for equality. When she was growing up in Colorado, Annabelle applied to participate in Girls State. However, instead of using their names, the teacher had them use their locker numbers on the applications. To this day, Annabelle remembers the look of surprise on the judges' faces when they realized the winner was Hispanic. Annabelle has been fighting for justice and equal rights for a long time. Living in Benton County, I have the privilege of calling Annabelle my commissioner. I also have the good fortune of calling her my mentor in the Democratic Party. But more importantly, I have the honor of calling her my friend. Please join me on the Democratic Party of Oregon in congratulating Annabelle for receiving the well-deserved Morse Award for Integrity and Passion. And now we'll hear a few words from Commissioner Jaramillo.
That's great.
Thank you, Democrats, for this great honor. I am truly honored to join the many recipients of the Wayne Morse Award. I also want to thank my family for the years of support they have given me. I wish we could all be together tonight, but I understand. I recognize that we must all do what we can to keep everyone safe and healthy. It certainly has been a stressful year, a pandemic of epic proportions killing millions of people globally and in our state over 500 souls. And now we mourn the loss of a giant, Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. May she rest in peace. Added to this is the destruction of our beautiful forests and a lack of recognition that climate change contributes to the loss of lives and homes haunts us all. But I am hopeful. We are a resilient party, and coming together virtually gives us strength for the big push ahead. I know zooming around to meeting after meeting certainly takes its toll, but we do what we have to do. Many have commented to me that a highlight and a call to action for them was the National Democratic Convention roll call of states. What a wonderful presentation of our diversity and commitment. Most importantly, once again, let's commit ourselves to the big task ahead. Let's work vigorously to elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and every Democrat down the ticket. Again, thank you. I am truly honored.
Can you turn it up?
Thank you, Annabelle, and congratulations. Your award is very well deserved for your years and years of service. So now I would like to introduce Ron Wyden, who could actually qualify as America's Mr. Vote by Mail. Not only does we advocate for what we know to be a great electoral system, but he was the very first federal elected official elected exclusively by a vote by mail when he gained his Senate seat back in 1996. Senator Wyden has been a great advocate for all things progressive, for our seniors, for internet accessibility, and for healthcare access for all. Right now, Senator Wyden is working hard to elect Democrats up and down the ticket, and he joins us tonight to honor another great Democrat. Senator Wyden, it's all yours.
Casey, thank you so much. And it is just a great honor to be able to take a few minutes to recognize Mary Gautreaux. Many of you I know in the audience know her. The fact is her years and years of working to protect our land and our air and our water are practically part of an Oregon Democrat's DNA. She worked in our office, taking on the polluters and the special interests for a quarter century. And it is so fitting that we have a chance to take a moment and recognize her tonight. And I'm so glad that two of my Senate colleagues are, I believe, on this Zoom right now. About RBG on the floor with his usual passion and tenacity. And I'm also so pleased that Senator Tammy Duckworth is here as well in our digital house tonight, so to speak. She is one of our party's true rising stars and somebody that I just love to partner with because of her values and her energy and her passion. Now, 1 year ago, this last weekend, Mary Gautreaux left us. And I'm sure there are many in the audience like me who miss her tremendously. Her legacy lives on. It's going to do so for decades to come. And for those of us who had the honor to work with Mary and call her a friend, we will never forget that inimitable smile that she had that just lit up a room. And what a heart. She never, ever passed a person who was hurting without stopping to help. And she never passed a young person who she didn't try and teach something to. As many of you know, we have town hall meetings in all of Oregon's 36 counties. Merkley does as well. We've kind of made it a tradition. I call it the Oregon way. We seek solutions over standoffs. And what a practitioner of the Oregon way Mary Gautreaux, was. In fact, I got to the point watching her because she was so good at bringing people together on resources legislation. I think to get the Mount Hood wilderness bill passed, we did with our wonderful colleague Earl Blumenauer. At one point, I finally said, the Oregon way is basically the Mary way because she's the one who brings everybody together. Like the Oregon way, Mary way isn't written down somewhere. She had her own unique filing system of posting notes that were scattered on every square inch of her desk. But what a deserving person for this honor. And the Mary way brought mayors and county commissioners. They did calls from her at every hour of the day and night because she wanted to get something done. And she was at hundreds of my town hall meetings. And basically anybody who just really wanted some help, they just walk up to Mary. She'd go outside for 10 or 15 minutes. And Senator Duckworth, you'll hear it rains sometimes, occasionally, rarely in our state. Mary just be out there with an umbrella helping somebody because that was her. And she'd drive any distance from Paisley to Portland and all points in between to make sure Oregonians who wanted to be heard, would be heard. And you can see the Mary way in protection for Bull Run, Badlands, Mount Hood wilderness, treasure after treasure protected for eternity because she set the wheels in motion. She loved every part of the state. She fought with all her being to protect it for future generations. And I just want for a moment to speak very personally about her because our family, and I think almost everybody knows we're older parents, twins that are 13, little one that's 7, they adored Mary. And in her last days, we all went to see her. It was very hard. And she bucked us up and she showed us the maps of a wonderful place Senator Duckworth called the Oahe. They'd been debating back and forth about what to do about the Oahe for years. Mary was determined to make it happen. And we're gonna make it happen. And we're gonna dedicate it to Mary Gautreaux because you only find this kind of person once in a lifetime. And I'm thrilled that her kids and her grandkids can see with this award how much the state loved their mom and their grandmother back. And so we're presenting tonight, Senator Duckworth and Senator Merkley is very familiar with it, a special award for civic engagement, named after another great Oregon Democrat, Jim Klonowski, political science professor at the U of O. And tonight it's being given to Mary's incredible daughters, Cal E. and Mariah. And I think per KC's instructions, we're so lucky to have what a wonderful chair KC is. Per KC's instructions, I think Callie and Mariah are going to accept the award and have a comment, and then KC will introduce Senator Merkley, and after that we'll hear from Senator Duckworth. KC. Hey, there they are.
We are incredibly humbled to receive this honor on behalf of our mom. As many of you know that she, MG, had a heart bigger than life and bottomless energy. And it was always the people behind the issues that made her care so deeply and work so hard. And it just, as on a personal note for her, if there was anything she could do to make somebody's life better, she would do it and enlist the help of anyone she could to make it happen. So while we, as her daughters, saw this as a personal MG trait, we see that it was part and parcel of public policy for her, and simply the way the Wyden team and her cohorts across the state really operate. So we're heartened to see the momentum continuing, and particularly because she never did go at it alone.
Thank you, Ron. You had me crying before I started. Your big heart and everything you have to say speaks exactly to everything she believed in. Our gratefulness over the past year has been unending with everybody's hard work. I mean, talk about it takes a village. The Army of Oregon working for things that she believed in makes us so proud. And for us to talk about her all year long and what we're doing right now in this environment, what you are all doing in your work, we are just beyond honored that her legacy gets carried on. Thank you all for all your hard work. Thank you.
Well, I've got to say we're honored to be able to give Mary the honor, and thank you for speaking for her, and thank you, Senator Wyden, for presenting an award to a very great and deserving person. So next up, Senator Jeff Merkley is the epitome of the good guy making good. And by the way, doing good. Back in the 90s, he dove into party politics and was the Multnomah County Democrats' House District Leader in what's now House District 47 in Portland, next door to me. Or what we called at the time, Mid-County. He brought the same energy to his role then that he brought to the Oregon House when he was elected in 1999 as that district's House rep, and later as Speaker of the Oregon House when we Dems took it back in 2006. Senator Merkley now has a national audience, often on MSNBC, and he always speaks the truth to issues on a bevy of cable networks. He's a star, he's our star, and please give it up for Senator Jeff Merkley. Jeff hands.
Casey, thank you so much. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, great. Well, I can tell you we're in dark and dangerous times. We've been hit so hard by a pandemic. And at this moment, in the stunning situation where 200,000 Americans have died. It's just pretty incomprehensible. And to realize how many fewer would have died if we had a president who had competently pursued PPE, personal protective equipment, competently pursued testing, competently pursued contact tracing, the three powerful tools that the healthcare professionals kept saying, do these things. And the president mocked them, ignored them, shunned them, discouraged them, failed in every possible way. And then we have the economic implosion on top of it, the consequence of it. And what a powerful impact. Back in April, 40% of the families who earn $40,000 or less had lost their job. Those with the least ability to have economic resilience being the most impacted. Then we have the fires. And I must say, a week from Saturday, Senator Wyden and I drove up and down the state. We did 600 miles, never left the smoke. Community after community, so fiercely impacted. We went to command control centers. We went to centers that were providing assistance to people. And we visited the towns of Phoenix and Talent. And I'm sure you've all seen the pictures, but it looked like they had been firebombed from above, like a town in World War II, just completely incinerated. So our hearts go out to all those who have been so afflicted by the pandemic, by the economic implosion, and really here in Oregon, losing everything from these fires, and in some cases, losing their lives and the consequences of it. So it seemed like, what else could possibly happen? Well, the what else was RBG dying on Friday night. She was small in stature, but she was a giant in the battle for justice. Earlier, I was on the floor of the Senate speaking to what she did as an advocate when she was presenting cases before the Supreme Court. And then what she did on the Supreme Court in taking her colleagues forward in the vision of equality of opportunity for all. And so much of the work she did on gender equality then translated into quality of opportunity for LGBTQ community. And she was there on so many other issues, on the side of the people, not the side of the powerful. And that really is the battle that's on the Supreme Court. It's between the vision of government of, by, and for the people and the vision of government controlled by and for the powerful. And I can tell you the powerful have invested so much money in this campaign to be able to use the court to basically put the rights, or not the welfare of the wealthy, over economic opportunity for an ordinary worker. The power of corporations over sustainable protection of our environment. The rights of a powerful white minority over the civil rights of every single individual, no matter the color of their skin. So it is brutal. We have a court that already had a majority that threw up its hands at gerrymandering, that proceeded to unleash hundreds of millions of dollars in 2014 of dark money on our campaigns, that gutted the civil rights laws that controlled voter suppression. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, in that case, Shelby County case, she said, it's like arguing you're going to throw away your umbrella in the rain because you're not getting wet. And so here's a court with this 5-4 majority undermining basic vision of our Constitution, we the people vision. A 6-3 for the powerful majority is much harder to crack. So we are appealing to our colleagues, have the integrity to stand up for the McConnell rule you so fiercely advocated for 4 years ago. The McConnell rule that said, when you're in the midst of an election, let the president nominee who wins the election be the one to nominate the next Supreme Court justice. I must say, if you're looking for integrity among the Republican side of the aisle in the US Senate, we can only say now that 2 have stood up for this principle that they honored or fought for and enunciated 4 years ago. And that's Susan Collins, and she hasn't said she'll actually vote to honor that principle, and Lisa Murkowski. So there we are with the whole rest of the 53 basically running away from honor, running away from dignity, running away from integrity, because it's all about the power of the powerful. So we're going to keep fighting, and maybe we'll be rescued at the last minute by some second thoughts among some colleagues. But it means that this Senate race, this race for control of the Senate and the race for the presidency are all that much more important. If we don't win both those battles, we have no chance to undo Trumpism. So that's what we have to do. And every senator incumbent is working so hard to raise money for all those key races. There's more than 10 potential red to blue races. We have to win at least 3 of them to get to 50, 4 if we lose one of our incumbents. And we really need to win about 6 or 7 to have a controlling control of the Senate that will enable us to pursue an aggressive agenda for the people. We know what we're up against. We're up against a force that is undermining healthcare and reproductive rights and labor rights and civil rights and LGBTQ rights and worker rights on the court and in the Senate. They're ignoring the fundamental plight of the pandemic. For 4 months after the House acted, the Senate has done nothing, while Mitch McConnell and the Republicans slumber. America suffers. So tonight we have an incredible individual to share a vision of where America should be and how we're going to get there, and paint that vision of how, if we are on the battlefield, we can get this done. Tammy Duckworth. Now, Tammy Duckworth gave a rousing speech at the convention. Some of you may have heard it. Some of you may have seen it. I'm sure many of you have talked about it. And she's in that situation where she is balancing children and work in a very demanding job. That's a big challenge. And you wonder, how does she bring the energy and the persistence to get it done. And maybe some of that's from her military training and discipline. She served our military, and in 2004, an Iraq mission, she was hit, her helicopter was hit by a rocket-propelled grenade. And she'll correct me if I use the wrong term, an RPG. She was profoundly injured, lost her legs, and partial control of an arm. And yet she bounced just back as a human being to say, I'm going to keep working to make the world a better place. She became an advocate for veterans. She became director of veteran affairs in Illinois. Obama saw her talent and her energy and her attitude and made her the assistant secretary of the Veterans Administration in 2009. And then she ran for the House of Representatives and won that seat. And then she ran for the Senate against an incumbent Republican, Mark Kirk, and she won that race in 2016. Yay. You know, for all of us who have run against incumbents who start with a huge superiority in funds and win, and so Tammy, I'm in that class with you, we know how hard that is. That is incredibly hard. And you need a vast army of volunteers and supporters. And I had that in Oregon together. It was a team effort. I know it was a team effort in Illinois, but well done, so well done. And then in 2018, she became the first senator in our history to have a child, to give birth to a child while serving as a senator. And her baby, Miley, has made numerous appearances on the floor of the Senate. And every time she would roll onto the Senate floor with her little baby in her lap, everything else would stop. Because we all just, it was so wonderful to see this beautiful young child and know we're fighting for that child's future. We're fighting for the future of every child in America. We're fighting to take on climate chaos that is destroying our planet. We're fighting to take on income and wealth inequality so every family can have a foundation to thrive. And at the forefront of that fight is Tammy Duckworth. We love you. Thank you for joining us this evening. Please give a powerful Oregon welcome to Tammy Duckworth, Senator of the state of Illinois.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff. And thank you, everyone, for being on this call to support the Oregon Democrats and my good friend, Jeff Merkley. Let's send him back to the Senate. I'm going to just start off by saying one quick thing. And I know, Jeff, that you were very hopeful in saying wonderful things about Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins. But I want to say this to the folks on this call. Understand exactly what these two Republican women, very courageous of them to say that they would not support taking up a nominee to the Supreme Court before the election. But note that they said election. They did not say before the next president takes office. So both of them, even as courageous as they've been, have left themselves wiggle room to actually take up and seat a new justice on the Supreme Court in the lame duck session, even if Trump loses. So even they have left themselves some room in order to be able to vote to confirm a judge to the Supreme Court, even in the lame duck election, even if Joe Biden wins. So this is where the Republicans are. You can talk to them, do everything that you can, but at the end of the day, they're about packing the courts. And I am just so gutted that they're doing this in the middle of a pandemic that has claimed more than 200,000 lives. You know, that's the equivalent of having a 9/11 every single day for 2 months. Can you imagine? And still our president has not done anything of any significance to help us beat this pandemic. We are in the middle of a devastating economic crisis that has nearly 30 million Americans receiving unemployment benefits. More than half of the jobs that disappeared this year have not come back. 100,000 small businesses have closed for good, and we're seeing record demand at food banks as families have to make an awful choices as they struggle to feed their loved ones. You know, when I was younger, I was on food stamps as a child because my dad lost his job in his 50s. And he was unemployed. know what it literally bound together your spare cents to try to make your last bit of your SNAP credit last month and to depend on them. And yet so many people are failed to respond to this pandemic and crashed our economy. We're also in the middle of a crisis that you all are experiencing firsthand in Oregon. It's alarming to see how climate change is already here. And it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to watch the West Coast go up in flames and witness the aftermath of devastating fires across our country. And it's infuriating to see this president and Republicans in Congress bury their heads in the sand and deny the reality on the ground, even though climate change is was claiming. And if 2020 heartbreaking news with the loss of the great Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She was one of my heroes. You know, she gave a voice to girls and women everywhere and moved the needle forward in a long fight towards justice and equality for all. You know, I was 2 girls. Jeff asked where I find the energy. I said all the time. I'm exhausted from the minute I wake my girls up, ready for her education. She should be in school and she can be there as much as possible to sit with her and to help her through that. But this is no way for a child to get an education. And we wouldn't be here if President Trump has not botched the response to this pandemic. And we still could get our kids back in school if only we could make testing widespread, affordable, or free. And we could do more with contact tracing and provide PPE so that our schools can stay safe and our kids can get back to the classroom. You know, just when I thought the stakes for this election couldn't get any higher, they did. They did. Now, affordable healthcare for millions of Americans and protections for those with pre-existing conditions is on the ballot. People may not realize this, but exactly 7 days after November 3rd, when we elect the Supreme Court is currently scheduled to hear the oral arguments on a case that will eliminate the Affordable Care Act and its protections for those with pre-existing condition as we know it. That's just 7 days. On November 10th, the Supreme Court will have the oral arguments. And that's why Mitch McConnell is trying because he wants that screen to be American people, so that 20 million Americans will, everyone who's on this today, either love someone who has a pre-existing condition. All of us will be in trouble. We will find that we will no longer have coverage, or we will find that we can no longer, that will be charges for our pre-existing condition. Climate action is also on the ballot. Collective bargaining rights are on the ballot. Marriage equality. For all of us. My 2 little girls, my Miley Pearl, who took care of American GIs and German POWs in World War II, and she did it with a revolver stuck in her bra in case those German POWs got out of hand. It's for Miley Pearl's future. It's for Abigail, my older daughter's future, that I get up and we fight. You know, my daughter, my 2 girls wouldn't be here because I struggled with infertility for 10 years. 10 years after my service, we tried and tried and tried. And it took 10 years and a lot of IVF for us to get to where I could have these beautiful 2 girls. But you know what? Without reproductive rights, without what Justice Ginsburg did in the Supreme Court, I wouldn't have my girls, because things like personhood amendments that say that a fertilized embryo, a fertilized egg is a human being, means that IVF treatments where embryos are reimplanted into your uterus could result in manslaughter charges against surgeons. My doctor, because he knowingly put 3 fertilized eggs back in me and 2 of which would not take, knowing that he could be convicted of manslaughter for knowingly implanting 2 persons back in the woman. So even something like the ability of a family to start and have children will be at stake during this election with the Supreme Court decisions. There's just so much at stake right now, and we're at a real inflection point in this country. It reminds me a little bit about that day when I was shot down in that dusty field in Iraq. I was wounded. I had passed out from blood loss. My crew chief had fought the fires. He had almost lost his leg. My pilot in command was out gesturing, bringing in the rescue aircraft. And my door gunner, a young man who wasn't sure what he was doing, overwhelmed. He had volunteered to be a door gunner. Shot, he'd lost a tremendous amount of blood, and he was suffering and going into shock. Kurt is his name. Didn't run for the rescue bird. He didn't run to take care of himself. He ran towards where the bad guys were jumping into their pickup trucks and headed towards us. We knew that it was just minutes before the enemy would be there. And Kurt stood his ground. I asked him later, I said, Kurt, why'd you do that, man? Why didn't you run for the rescue bird? And he said, you know, other soldiers had stood their ground before me. And I knew that we had to maintain the perimeter so we could get you out, Tammy, and we could get our crew chief, his name was Sergeant Fierce. We could get Chris Fierce out. And I just, you know, I didn't know what I was doing. I was scared, but I just decided on that day in that field, they weren't going to get through me. I was going to stand my ground. And I think about Kurt every day. And I think about the men who saved my life every day, because that's what motivates me to go just as much as my girls, because they saved me and I owe them. I owe them. I owe the protection and the support for our military men and women. I owe fighting for a real commander-in-chief, a military family like the Bidens who actually care and honor our troops in a way that this president, who calls those who have laid down their lives for our country to be suckers and losers. I owe the guys who saved me a commander-in-chief who will safeguard them and their families and our veterans. That's what we will have in Joe Biden. That's what we will have when we finally flip the Senate. And I look at where we are right now. I was on the steps of the Supreme Court today, and I think about everything that's at stake. That laundry list I just rattled off for you. So much is at stake. Families are going to not be able to pay their mortgage. Businesses are never going to come back that have shut down, so many of them. And yet, this president continues to turn his back on the American people, turn his back on working families that are trying everything they can to survive, turn his back on the people who are fighting wildfires right now and denying that climate change even exists. The soul of our nation and its character is clearly on the ballot this November, but we have a chance to choose unity instead of division. And every one of you on this call is part of how we can make a difference. Most Americans are not doing what you are doing right now. They're not on a call at this in the evening on a weekday, talking about what we need to do for our democracy. And I thank you for that. I thank you, because that too is service for our nation. And many of you have been fighting far longer than I've been in politics. You know, I only got into politics 15 years ago after I was wounded and I recovered. I decided to run and become an advocate for veterans. So many of you have been in this fight for longer than 15 years. And I think of you and I think of Kurt. And this is what we're doing. We are each standing up right now in these frightening times when the earth is burning. We are in mourning for the great RBG. We are worried about healthcare. We are worried about this pandemic, this plague that is spread around the world. We are worried about our economy. That's what we face in that field when the bad guys were all around us and they were coming our way. And Kurt, scared, unsure, went and stood his ground. That's what you on this call are doing. Thank you for that. You are standing your ground and you are saying, no, no. You will not get through. You will not get Democratic Party, because I am here today and I stand up and defend healthcare for Americans. I will stand up and make young children have access to good education. I will stand up and fight for the earth and fight for a climate and fight for a carbon neutral future. That's what we're standing up. So thank you for doing that. Because tonight, each one of you today is saying, "Can't get through me. Not today, not as long as I'm here." And it is my honor to get to stand with you, shoulder to shoulder, with Jeff Merkley, with Suzanne Bonamici, and all the values that we stand up for. They don't win, not this time, not as long as we're here. Thank you. God bless each and every one of you, and God bless all of our troops who are in harm's way now.
All right. All right, AG Rosenblum, we're ready for you.
Thank you so much. Thank you to Senator Duckworth. Thank you to the Democratic Party of Oregon. And thank you to everyone for coming out tonight. I always love the Wayne Morse Gala, and this is no exception. So while we can't be in person, it's great to be able to come together virtually. And everyone here knows that the stakes could hardly be higher this election year. Americans and Oregonians alike face greater challenges than we've ever seen before, some that have arisen in just the last few weeks, and others as old as our state's history. And as I run for a third term as your Attorney General, you have my word. I will not waver on my goals or principles as we move forward. I will continue fighting for all Oregonians' rights and well-being and for progress toward a more inclusive state. And I intend to continue challenging the Trump administration and addressing the lasting damage it has caused. Even when we get Biden into the Oval Office in November, we will need to sustain challenges to Trump's dangerous extremist legacy that will outlast his presidency. Unfortunately, on top of the unlawful policies that the Trump administration has enacted and the important ones he's repealed or gutted, he has dramatically, I don't need to tell you this, especially this week, he has dramatically reshaped our nation's courts, and the legal fights for our basic rights will be more complicated, and they will be longer, and they will be more challenging than ever before. This work means little without the support of Democratic leadership in offices throughout Oregon, and that's why we are here together tonight. It is so important that we coordinate so that Democratic leaders win up and down the ballot to bring the progress to Oregon that the people of our state deserve and expect. We're going to need a strong coalition if we're to support Oregonians and bring the change that they are demanding. The DPO plays a key role in all of this, not only supporting candidates, but assisting with get out the vote, with running statewide phone banks, and organizing a strong volunteer program. And none of that has changed. It's gotten even stronger and better because we've had to pivot. We've had to be flexible. We've had to be nimble. And there's nothing like our amazing staff at the DPO and all of the volunteers throughout the state. You are amazing. You are here tonight. You are making this happen. And you're making sure that Democrats win these elections. And the DPO could not do this work without all of you. And that is why we need to make sure that the DPO is fully funded as we head into these critical final weeks. So that's why I'm here tonight. I get to be the one to ask you to reach into your wallets. Now, I know you didn't forget them, right? I know you have them with you. I know you have your credit cards. I know you're here. I know, if you need to grab a snack to get yourself some nourishment, that's okay, but come back because I can see how many people there are, okay? There's 314 of you, And I don't want one of you dropping off, okay? Not until we're done here tonight, because this is too important. I need everybody here. Are you all with me? I can hear you. I know I can hear you. Say yes, yes, clap. We're all here together. You're here with me. So tonight, here's the really amazing news. We have a $15,000 match from some generous sponsors. So thank you to our sponsors. We have IUPAT, the Painters Union, at $5,000. We have Aaron Mitchell from LaModa at $5,000. We have Cheryl and Jim Kuhn at $2,500. And we have Dan and Vicki Cole at $2,500. So we have kind of a way that we're supposed to do this, okay? You're supposed to, I mean, it's a little bit complicated, but not really. It's not much harder than just raising your hand or your paddle like we would do if we were all sitting around having dinner. So use the chat feature to make your pledges. Everybody knows how to find the chat feature, right? And when you do, Katie, where are you, Katie? There's Katie. I can see Katie. I think you can all see Katie. Katie will acknowledge them, okay? She's going to acknowledge the pledges. So without further ado, we're going to get started. Okay, so building off of those generous gifts that I just told you about, can we on this call match that $15,000 tonight and invest $30,000 towards electing Democrats up and down the ballot this fall? Can anyone support at the $5,000 or $2,500 level tonight? And to pledge support, you can enter your amount into the chat box and someone from the DPO team will connect with you. So is anyone able to match our friends at IUPAT or LaModa at $5,000?
I have someone at $2,000. I have Marilyn and Jean Stubbs.
Wonderful. Thank you, Marilyn and Jean. Thank you so much. Actually, I was almost there. I was going to ask if anyone could do $2,500. So thank you, Marilyn and Jean. Anybody else who can do $2,000 or $2,500, like the Coons or the Coles tonight, please let us know through the chat. All right, I'm seeing some great contributions here. Katie, you want to call some of those out?
Yeah, I'll yell them out when we get to those amounts, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So, and you know, if you want to kind of come back, you can always add it to the chat, even if it's not the amount that we're on. That's the beauty of this, right? So don't feel bad. Like, don't feel like, oh, I missed 2,500, so I can only give, you know, 1,000. No. We'll take the 2,500. Okay. We're really flexible here. So support at all levels is critical. And we know that, you know, you might be only able to give $100 tonight. So I'm going to get to that. So hold on. And it's not only, every dollar of $100 counts. So is anyone able to support tonight at the $1,000 level? If you can support at the $1,000 level, please tell us now through the chat box.
I have Dave and Chris Vernier, thank you. And I have Pete Lee, awesome, DPO Vice Chair. And I've got the Kleibacher family, John Kleibacher and his family. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I've got Eleanor Golay. Thanks, Eleanor, we appreciate it. And I've got Christiana Shi, thank you. And Bettina Von Hagen. Woo-hoo. Yeah, you know, if you want to send in a check, I'll get you the address. And I've got Luis Curran and Tara and Scott Thomas.
Woo.
Okay.
Yeah,
and
so much for your generosity tonight. That's fantastic. I'm going to add, you can add my name in there too, Katie. So I'll give $1,000 tonight.
Awesome.
Here we go.
Thank you. And Nathan Soltz, we've got him.
Thanks, Nathan.
Thank you so much. Awesome, awesome.
All right, well, so what we're gonna do, and like I said, if you can do the 1,000, that's fantastic, but we're gonna also ask at this point, how about the $500 level? It's important we have the funds we need to run an effective and coordinated effort to elect Oregon Democrats this November. So hopefully you see the pop-up window and it allows you to indicate what level you wish to support at. So you can enter in your pledged amount there. Or if you don't see that, or you don't want to get complicated, just send us a note on chat and tell us what your contribution level is, and we'll figure it all out.
And we've got Peter Stoll for 500, and David Jarvis and his family for 500. Awesome. Thank you. Is there anyone else? There's a lot coming in. Representative.
A lot coming in. That's so wonderful. I'm going to let Katie read them off if you want to go ahead and do that while we're waiting.
Yeah. Representative Rob Nose, thank you so much. Jan Robinson, thank you. Lynn McClintock in Harney County. We've got Larry Ludekin going back up to the $1,000 level.
Woo! Thank you, Larry.
Awesome. And $1,000 from Lynn and David Bangsund. Let's see. Sorry, there's so many, which is so great. And then we've got some other levels too.
No amount is too small. Can anyone do, if you haven't had a chance yet and you don't think we've read it off yet, can anyone do $250 at this point? All support makes a direct impact on our work. Or if you want to go to 100 now, we'd love your $100 contributions. Hopefully we're going to get lots of those tonight.
Yeah.
Especially because it's so hard to go out to dinner these days. So hopefully you've been able to save a little bit on your grocery bills. And tonight's your opportunity. So thank you for saving some money by maybe skipping a few meals out. I mean, after all, there aren't as many places to go, but we're really glad that you're supporting the community and doing the takeouts. And, you know, there's even some really lovely places to eat outdoors and some indoors now. So, you know, but still, you're not going to Starbucks as much, right? So each cup of coffee matters. Each cup of coffee is, you know, $3 or $4 these days. So it all adds up. So no amount is too small. And if you want to give us $3 or $4, just in honor of, you know, that Starbucks you missed this week, that's fine too. Especially if you want to do it monthly, because you can do a monthly contribution. And boy, $500 a month, we'll take that in a heartbeat, won't we, Casey? I see Casey going, yeah. All right, thank you, Casey. Casey Hansen. Woohoo! Our amazing chair.
Jill Whitaker is doing 250. Callie Kilbrew is doing 100. Eileen Kiley doing 100. Sorry, there's so many coming in. I gotta scroll, sorry. There's 250 from Representative Maxine Dexter, 500 from Jose Fernandez, Phyllis Bond and John Drizal, sorry, that last name, John, $500. Pam Hardy from Bend, Oregon, $250. I got Diane Herman, thank you so much, $1,000. 200 from C. David, and he's from IATSE. That's awesome. IATSE Local 488. Former Senator Bob Boyer and Judy Boyer, $500. Okay. Anyone, if any other staff in here want to read out any, can definitely.
Good job, Katie. Thank you so much. Okay, so we're still open for contributions, and you guys are doing fantastic. Thank you so much for your support and your commitment to electing Oregon Dems. I'm just so honored to serve as your Attorney General and to be the Democratic nominee for another term this November. And I know so many of you who are here, even those of you who are contributing tonight, are running for office, some of you for the first time. So thank you so much, you guys. I deeply appreciate your support of Democrats tonight, of the DPO, and this important work that we're doing, and the entire Democratic slate of candidates, along with your generous support to the DPO. So thank you so very much. Let's keep it open for another minute or two here, just to be sure. Katie, do you see any more that you want to announce?
Marcia and Howard Schneider, $100. Pam Hardy, another $500. And I said Jose Fernandez, and I want to add in his family, Bill and Grant Hertz. Future Representative Dacia Graber for $250. Awesome. Sorry, there's so many. I hope we got most everyone, but keep chatting it out.
All right, you guys, you've been incredible. Thanks for staying with us. We've only lost a few, but those were just those of you who probably, you know, maybe had to go to the restroom or something like that. For the most part, you stayed with us, and we love you and we appreciate you. And it really matters. And our volunteers appreciate it so much because, you know, they work for nothing. They just work for tonight, for knowing that you care enough about them to come out and support the work they're doing for us and for the DPOs. And thanks to our great, amazing staff, we're going to keep you fed too. And that's important. You need to have what you need in order to do this important work, to the energy that it's going to take to get to November 3rd with all these great wins. So thank you all so much. Thanks for having me. And I think we're on to the next part of the agenda for the night.
All righty. Thank you so much, Ellen. You always do such a great job at that, and people really enjoy you. I enjoy you. You don't think I'm doing $500 a month, but hey, that's great. Thank you.
$5, just $5.
Well, I'm already there anyway. So thanks, everybody. And then part of the whole thing too is that we volunteers and financial support is what makes this party happen. And by the way, I want to say hello to our folks that are live streaming. Some of you can engage on chat. We've got a bunch of people that are watching on live stream, and you know, you can watch this again later too. So hello to everybody, and I'm glad everybody could join us tonight. But I want to talk about volunteering too. You know, the DPO organizes the coordinated campaign, which is a team effort of our statewide and federal candidates and our PACs for the state Senate and House, which give us majorities. And our staffers, all of their staffers are hard at work. I mean, the limits of COVID have really, you know, thrown a sidewinder at us, and it's taken us off the street and put us on, you know, virtual field campaigns on the phone and on the internet. But why we win and why we will win in November is because of both your generosity in terms of the financial support, obviously, that you've just given and will give in the future, but your generous donation of time too. You know, there were over 350 folks at one point tonight on this Zoom call, plus you know, couple hundred on live stream. Well, what does that translate into? Just 2 shifts from every one of you, just 2 shifts of phone banking would allow us to make over 80,000 calls and connect with over 16,000 voters. And as you've always heard Kate Brown say, every one of those voters makes a difference because she won her first election by 7 votes. And there's a guarantee there's going to be some close race in this election cycle where that extra phone call and that extra volunteer shift makes a difference. So I really hope you can give a little bit of your time, get on the phones. We've got a great phone system, and we'll be getting out the vote too after ballots drop. So, and you know that we especially want to elect, of course, our dynamic presidential and vice presidential team of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris to the White House to truly bring our country back. But we especially need to elect the next Secretary of State, Shamia Fagan, and make sure that Pete DeFazio down in CD4 remains in office. He's a tremendous progressive Democrat, and he's the chair of the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. And I don't think I need to tell you how important that is for all of us. So on that note, please volunteer. We have a special message from our next president, Joe Biden.
Hello, Democrats. Thank you all for your service to the Democratic Party and to our country, especially in these tough times. I wish we were meeting under different circumstances this year, but instead we're separated by a deadly virus. Far, far too many Americans have died. We have more COVID infections than any other country in the world, and millions are still out of work. And we're grappling with the legacy of systemic racism, which has kept us for too many years from realizing our full share of the American dream for so many Americans. Today, we're dealing with multiple national crises all at once. We need real leadership, and we need it now. We need leadership that recognizes the real threat of this pandemic, that doesn't just wave a white flag of surrender like the president has. We need leadership that brings everyone to the table, to rebuild an economy that works for working families, creates millions of good paying jobs for the future. We need leadership that strives to finally deliver on the founding principles, ensure that all men are not only equal at their creation, but treated equally throughout their lives. Because this is a challenge we're unwilling to postpone. Folks, I refuse to postpone. The soul of America is at stake in this election. That's the reason I decided to run. That's why I stand united with every single Democrat in our shared mission to beat Donald Trump and restore decency, dignity, and leadership to the White House. We have to do more than just beat Donald Trump. We have to keep the House of Representatives, and we have to win the United States Senate. And we have to lead and deliver meaningful change for the millions of people who are hurting all across this nation. That means we need strong state parties, strong county parties, strong democratic organizations at all levels across every single state. The stakes have never been higher, and that's not an exaggeration. So we have to work harder than we've ever worked. We need to stand up as a nation, to stand with the Black community and the Latino community, the Asian, Pacific, and Pacific Islander community, to stand with workers, to stand with every person who's ever been knocked down, counted out, or left behind. If we stand together as one America, we'll win the battle for the soul of this country. Our children are counting on us. We can do this, I am positive. This is the United States of America. There's not a single thing we're unable to do when we do it together. So thank you. And let's get to work.
Well, thank you, obviously, to Vice President and future next President Joe Biden. That was wonderful. And we agree that we are fighting for the soul of our country. I am Senator Shamia Fagan. My pronouns are she, her, and I am so happy to be here with you at the Wayne Morse dinner. But I'll be honest, I wish I was in uncomfortable clothes and uncomfortable shoes and with you in person instead of sitting in my office in, of course, business on the top, party on the bottom, track pants, slippers is what I'm wearing with, of course, a nice top. But I know that we all wish we were together, but I appreciate the Democratic Party of Oregon for following the CDC guidelines and doing this event remotely. So I am so excited to be here, but I want to stop for a minute. And I know this has been said multiple times tonight and just express our solidarity with so many Oregonians. I'm sure many of you across the state. This is an incredibly challenging time for our world and our country. In the last couple of weeks, our state in particular. I hope that all of you and your loved ones are safe, but I know that many of you or your friends or family have suffered just immeasurable loss. And I just want you to know that you're in our hearts and that we stand with you during this incredibly difficult time. I know that many of you know that I grew up in little towns in Wasco County. So when I see little towns like Talent and Detroit that are essentially burned to the ground, it's very eye-opening because I grew up in those little communities in Wasco County. And as many of you know, my mom was in and out of our lives because she battled addiction and homelessness for most of my life. And my dad was a single parent in Wasco County, raising my two brothers and me, 3 kids by himself. And it is fair to say that our family was hanging on by a thread. And the summer before I started 2nd grade, my dad took us on this really cool camping trip. I remember being out on 8 Mile Creek in Dufer for a couple of weeks, catching crawdads and roasting marshmallows and sleeping in a big family tent. And it wasn't until many years later that my older brothers told me what really happened, that we had been evicted from our home in the Dalles and we had nowhere to go, that we were homeless, but my dad didn't want us to know. So he'd taken us on a camping trip in Dufer. And I know what it's like to be hanging on by a thread. And that's why I've spent my career as a civil rights attorney and an Oregon lawmaker fighting for Oregon families that are also hanging on by a thread and knocking down barriers to participation in our democracy, from automatic voter registration to prepaid postage. But let's get real, y'all. When I first announced my campaign for Secretary of State, I learned that most people have no idea what the hell this job is. That's the truth. My older brothers, one is a diesel mechanic, the other's a welder, said, Secretary of State, so you'll get people's coffee? No idea. And so the way that I look at this job at its core is to make sure that government is working for everybody, and especially our families that are hanging on by a thread. And I know that you all share those Oregon values. And we're going to run fair and secure elections. We're going to audit state agencies and revenues to make sure that they are making a real difference in the lives of people who need them the most. We are going to work to make sure our government is transparent and accountable to our public records office, and run the Office of Small Business Assistance that I helped create my first term in the Oregon House, to make sure that the engine of our economy here in Oregon, our small businesses, can get up and thrive after these double devastating tragedies of COVID and wildfires. But as you've seen in the national headlines, vote by mail is suddenly all the rage. And whenever I'm on these national calls with people, they say, oh my gosh, Oregon, wow, talking about vote by mail. I say what we all know, which is that vote by mail is the most boring topic in Oregon politics because it has worked so well for so long. We don't even think about it. And yet somehow the president and the attorney general of the United States and all of those that repeat his lies are suddenly out there calling into question the security and the truthfulness of vote by mail, when we know that we've elected folks all across our state with vote by mail for over 20 years. And so I just want to remind folks how secure vote by mail is. And I can't see everybody on the call, but I can see some of the panelists. So how many of you, tell me, how many of you drink coffee any time of the day? Yeah. Vote by mail is safer than drinking coffee, because coffee beans, the FDA allows up to 5% of your coffee beans to have mold in them. And yet your coffee tastes good. It's safe. I see Casey's face is like, oh, but don't worry. Like, it's safe. It's no problem. You enjoy your coffee. It tastes good. It's safe. How many of you eat chocolate? Yes. Okay. Tanya said yes to that. She said no to coffee. She said yes to that. Vote by mail is safer than eating chocolate because the FDA allows 1% of cocoa beans to have insect bug parts. And yet chocolate is delicious. I'm not going to stop eating chocolate, but vote by mail, even the National Heritage Foundation, a very conservative think tank. And let me be clear, y'all, I don't quote conservative think tanks very often, but when I do, it's to defend vote by mail, where they found a little over a dozen instances of voter fraud in over 15 million ballots cast. I can't even see the decimal point, the zeros beyond the decimal point. So safer than coffee, safer than chocolate. Keep enjoying your chocolate, keep enjoying your coffee, and we will keep enjoying vote by mail here in Oregon, and we will help expand it across the country if I am your next Secretary of State. And we know how important these races are, and that's why I am really proud tonight to get to introduce a couple of my colleagues who are going to address us through a video, colleagues I've served with in the House and colleagues I've served with in the Senate. And one is Barbara Smith Warner, which I know that you all are like, who's Barbara Smith Warner? Because we all know her affectionately as BS Dub. So I don't know who Barbara Smith Warner is. I think that's how her name appears on her birth certificate or her ballot. But to us, she is affectionately BS Dub, and she is the majority leader for the Oregon House Democrats. And we're going to hear from her. We're also going to hear from my colleague and my majority leader, Senator Rob Wagner, who, of course, we all know as the next Dave Matthews, because he plays these cool little strums on his Facebook and plays music, and he rocks us out. So we've got BS Dub and rock star Senator Rob Wagner here from the Oregon House and the Oregon House Democrats and the Oregon Senate Democrats to remind us why we're going to win a walkout-proof majority in the Oregon House and the Oregon Senate this fall. Next up, BS Dub, and the next Dave Matthews, Rob Wagner.
Hello to everyone at the annual Wayne Morse dinner. This is State Senator Rob Wagner from Southwest Portland, Lake Oswego, Westland, and Tualatin. And I want to say thank you to my constituent and precinct committee person, Emily, who is making these incredible masks that are encouraging Democrats to vote this election. In the Oregon State Senate, we have a unique opportunity this election cycle to win a walkout-proof majority in the Oregon legislature. For folks that don't know, the last 2 years, the Oregon Senate Republicans have walked out 3 times. They walked out on our schools. They walked out on public health vaccinations. They walked out on sensible gun safety, and they've walked out on the environment multiple times. If anything isn't clear to us, given what's happened in our state right now, and my heart goes out to our communities right now who have been ravaged by wildfire, we need legislators who will show up to the Oregon State Capitol, who take these issues seriously. Thank you so much for everything that you do. This election is going to come down to two things. Normally, it is dollars and doors. Democrats do doors better than anyone. This election, it is dollars and your support and helping us turn out the vote, whether or not that's through text messages and phone calls. We have candidates that are competitive across the state. We are in play in Coos Bay, in Lincoln City, in Bend, in Salem, and we're going to get it done. Thank you so much for everything you do. I wish we were in person, but I look forward to seeing you next year as well.
Hi, Oregon Democrats. It's House Majority Leader Barbara Smith Warner. I am so pleased to be talking to you from this year's virtual Wayne Morse dinner. Sorry that we're not together in person, but holding out hope that by continuing to work together, we will get there and be able to meet in person again soon. I want to call out to all of you, what you've been doing in your communities, as party members, as Oregonians, to help fight our ongoing pandemics, our health pandemic, our reckoning with racial justice, the wildfires that are going on. Thank you to every single one of you and everybody who's been helping. So I just wanted to remind everybody, I don't think you need reminding, but this election, it is 42 days away. 7 weeks from today, we have the opportunity to expand upon what we have done here in this state. House Democrats, 2018 was an amazing year. We picked up 3 more seats with a supermajority of 38. You saw what we did with that supermajority. We passed dedicated school funding for the first time in almost 30 years, paid family and medical leave, criminal justice reforms, including long overdue reforms to Measure 11. So 6 weeks from now, we are working hard to come back with another supermajority in the House, continued supermajority in the Senate, all up and down the ticket. Shemia Fagan as our Secretary of State, Tobias Reed as our Treasurer, Jeff Merkley as our U.S. Senator, and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris at the very top of the ticket, bringing dignity and respect back to the state. Everything you do between now and then is going to make a difference. Every dollar you spend, every dollar you raise, every call you make, every postcard you fill out, you are making a difference. You are amazing. All of us together, we can really make a difference. Thank you for being there, and here's to the next 6 weeks to Democratic victory.
Okay, well, hello, Oregon Democrats. I'm speaking to you from the banks of the McKenzie River here in Lane County, and I'm very grateful that we have a home unlike so many other Oregonians. I just want to say I am so proud to be an Oregonian because everyone has come together to help those people who've lost their homes. And I got to say, it's been a hard few months, and I was really in a funk, in a bad funk, because between the pandemic and the fires and being evacuated, and then Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, and I ate a family-sized share of lasagna, no lie, and not a small family, a large family, and a bottle of wine. And then I woke up Saturday morning and I said, okay, it is time to get to work, because that's what RBG would have wanted. I am wearing my dissent collar earrings because I do not believe we should be replacing Ruth Bader Ginsburg with some, Trump appointee that couldn't even stand in her shadow. But here we are. So what we can do about that is to make sure that we elect Democrats up and down the ticket, that we make sure that we elect Democrats here so that whatever happens at the federal level, we have the protections. If we look at our Attorney General and all the things that she's done to fight for what's right and fight against the Trump administration, it makes me proud. The progressive legislation that we passed, and the fact of the matter is we will be facing redistricting. We will be facing redistricting, and there's only one person that I want overseeing that, and that is now Senator Shemia Fagan and soon to be Secretary of State Shemia Fagan.
I was honored to be appointed by the governor to co-chair the Wildfire Economic Recovery Council with Treasurer Tobias Reed, where we're going to be going out across the state to prioritize what we need to get Oregon back up and running again, and to make sure that as we're rebuilding these fire-ravaged communities all across this state, we set those priorities right, and we make sure that we're addressing the needs of those communities. And one of the things that I'll be talking about is apprenticeships. And by the way, just going to say to the legislators that were here, we did ask for a professional firefighter apprenticeship last time around. We'll be asking for that again. The fact of the matter is, if we invest in training working people, then we can have Oregonians put into middle and high wage jobs. It's good for workers, it's good for business, it's good for our state. And see, what we're going to do with this Wildfire Council is Wildfire Economic Recovery Council is we're going to set some plans. We're going to make plans. Like the person who I supported in the primary, and I'm just going to tell you, I got my Elizabeth Warren shirt here. Senator Elizabeth Warren, my shiro, because no matter what happens, she has a plan. And so with that, it is my true honor to introduce this video from one of the most amazing women in this country. Well, she's not our senator, she's the Massachusetts senator, but I kind of feel like she's all of our senator, right? Like she's that person. So Senator Elizabeth Warren joining the Oregon Democrats here today.
Hello, Oregon Democrats. Boy, I sure wish we could be together, but we know that's just not possible right now. So I hope you and your loved ones are all staying safe and healthy. Even so, I wanted this chance to send a word of encouragement because this is a time of unprecedented crisis. Across our country, people are dying, over 1,000 a day, from an infectious disease that we should have had under control by now. Our economy is being squeezed to the breaking point, and the fight for racial justice has reached a new moment that demands bold action. America is crying out for leadership. And what has Donald Trump done in response? Well, he's ignored the science, he's fanned the flames of racism, and he's employed tactics that are straight out of the playbook of fascists and dictators. There's a reason for that. Donald Trump and the Republicans in Congress know that if people are heard, then Republicans will lose. So these elected officials are willing to attack the very foundation of our country. They openly attack the rule of law. They openly attack the right to assemble. They openly attack the right to vote. They openly threaten our democracy. But here's the good news. This November, the American people will have a chance to choose between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Now, Joe Biden gets it. He understands what working families are going through right now. Joe Biden knows that our system has been rigged to favor the rich and powerful and kick dirt in the face of everyone else. An injustice that falls especially hard on Black and brown families. And for months now, Joe has put forth a better course of action and a clear vision of what he would do as president. Joe Biden has selected Senator Kamala Harris to run alongside him. I've known Kamala for a long, long time now. We worked together back during the financial crisis when she was California's Attorney General, and we have continued working together in the Senate. She will be a great partner for Joe Biden in making our government a force for good in the fight for social, racial, and economic justice. We need to make sure that Joe and Kamala are elected in November so that they can get big things done for the American people. And I am 100% committed to making that happen. But if we're going to defeat Donald Trump, elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, flip the Senate, hold the House, elect Democrats up and down the ballot, and pass progressive reform, then we need everyone to make their voices heard at the ballot box. And look, I get it. These fights will be hard, and at times It can feel like our labor is in vain, but I am here today to remind each and every one of you that this is a fight to restore the soul of our nation. So we can't give in to fear. We can't back down. We must persist. And that's why today I'm asking all of you to dig a little deeper, because this is the moment that we have been called to. Please give your time, give your heart, give whatever you can. Recruit your friends, recruit your family, recruit everyone you know to do the same. We face an uphill battle, but you don't get what you don't fight for. So I hope you're ready to fight uphill for the next few weeks ahead, because Joe Biden is going up that hill, and I'm going to be right there with him, and we need you in this fight as well.
And those are wonderful words to close our evening's events with. And digging a little deeper, over on the chat side, you can see how you can sign up to volunteer if you want to give. If you didn't have a chance tonight, you can give at dpo.org/give, dpo.org/volunteer. Because like Senator Warren says, we've got an uphill battle, but climbing uphill every day together is what we do as Democrats, and we will win. There's a volunteer poll that's appearing on your page. We'd love to have you fill it out. It's just clicking it and submitting it. So it's about the phone banking. It's about writing postcards, which you can do at any time of night. And maybe you want to talk to somebody about volunteer opportunities. We'd love to have you join us. Many hands make light work. And this obviously is the election that is about the most critical any of us has ever faced. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for all our staff, for all our officers. You guys make a great team, a great, huge team. And because of you, we will win. Thanks, everybody, and have a great rest of the evening. And I'll see you down the virtual road. Good night, everybody.